Good evening and welcome to the Pinstripes After Dark on the Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. Joining me is what seems to be my new co-host because he just wants to hang out with me for some reason. Sunil, how is everything going? How was your Labor Day weekend? If anybody did anything really special over the weekend, drop it in the chat. Let us know how your weekend went. Before you do that, Sunil, let's shout out a couple of people, especially
Yeah.
our buddies Pete Simonetti, who has been killing it with the new branding and the NYY Underground. Pete, we always love having you around. Yeah, believe me, it's not stop work. We get it. It doesn't end. Jonathan, how is everything going? Mazza in the building. So, how was your Labor Day weekend? Let's start there.
I'm here alone. As you know, my wife is, facing unfortunate circumstances
Yeah,
overseas in India with her dad having gone through congestive heart failure and been in the ICU twice overseas in India. And it looks like she's going to be extending her uh, stay for a couple of weeks more just to make sure he's squared away and independent. So it was just, the average, ordinary, you know, single bachelor lifestyle for a few more weeks. And I did the one thing that you absolutely don't care for. I absolutely have to bring it up, play pickleball twice on
nobody cares
Saturday.
about football, Sunil.
Yeah, Pete, we need you to work on a sound effect like that. It's got to be something like put him in the bathroom, get him out of here, something like that. We need a sound intro for that. Hey, thanks, NFE. All is well. He's stabilizing, so we can only pray. I mean, these are things that happen to our, you know, elderly parents. It's a thing that comes with age, and it's a cycle of life. That's basically what it is. It throws you curveballs. You just got to face them. That's what it
Yep.
is.
It's been a wild weekend. I know I'm
Yeah.
going to be getting more into the Astro series with the boys in the morning
Yeah.
tomorrow. For those that did not realize that we had with the holiday weekend, some change in work schedules or different plans. Our live stream will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. So make sure you, after this, you get a good night's sleep, get up, get your coffee, and hang out with us in the morning. What's going on, Ruben? Dev Finch
Ruben, get
building.
okay,
Dev,
buddy.
how is everything going? Fort Train Mazza, my brother. But no, you know what was really nice about this weekend? And I had to apologize to Mazza. He texted me a few times. I have not responded.
Mm,
But the best part for me about
mm,
this weekend was kind of going off the grid for
mm.
3 days.
Yeah.
And out on the boat, out on the water, no signal.
Hmm.
It was nice to kind of go old school, without the technology.
Exactly. Yes.
So it makes it, you know, I didn't grow, when you don't grow up with it, it's easy to go back to. I think
Yep.
kids these days, they're like, I don't have an iPad. What do I do? No, you just you figure out what to do to pass the time. So,
Can, can I
um,
give you a great idea? I mean, this is not a great idea per se, but
yep,
it's gotten to the point where technology is taking over every facet of life. And
yeah.
again, I know this is a topic you don't care for, but I found on Nintendo Switch coming in October, they're actually going to have a multiplayer game on pickleball.
Yep.
Yep.
My kids were never in the house.
Yeah.
They were always outside.
NFE,
Yeah.
exactly. You go out and play tag, you play hide and go seek, you play street ball, wiffle ball,
Yep.
basketball, all sorts of sports. Your parents basically whoop your tail, said, no, 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 you're not sitting around, being a couch potato in front of the TV. No, 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 we ain't having that.
Yeah. No, but
He's
that
right.
was and we're gonna get what's going on, Li. I see you in there. Yeah, we're gonna get to the topic of the day. Players overpaid. I'll get into why I'm why
Can
I'm
I
putting
get
that
can
out
I
there.
get one quick interjection at Li's
Yeah.
comment? Li, even though you think players are not overpaid, but I can tell you one thing: trolls definitely are.
No, we're gonna really take a deep dive into it, but I'm kind of
Yes.
in this discussion because one of the things I wanted to do with this chat, you know, at this time slot was to kind of peel it back a little bit, but you know, just talk randomly about different things. You know, we all talk into the streams. We're always talking about firing Cashman, what to do with Boone, who's going to replace who, bring up the kids. It's nice to kind of pull it back a little bit. Yeah, Ruben, inflation doesn't help, but you know, it's fun to just if you grew up with technology and you're in the chat, you grew up with technology. How often do you step away from it, if anything? Or if you grew up without the technology like we did, Sunil and I, what was some of your favorite activities out of the house? Because there was no hanging out in the house. You know, you got up, you had your breakfast, you straightened up the house a little bit, you helped your mother and your father, and on a
Go out, ride
Saturday,
your bike.
10 a.m., you were out. You
Yeah,
know,
you go out,
maybe
ride your
you
bike.
came for
You play
lunch, you
tag.
were right back out. But while everybody's putting in their comments on that, let's get to the topic of the day. Right?
Yep.
Are players overpaid? Uh, the reason I'm putting this out there, yeah, Ruben, basketball was another big one. For
Yeah.
me, it was always either we used to go to the schoolyard, whether we played handball, we used to play a lot of stickball, wiffle ball,
Yeah.
yeah, schoolyard, sandlot shit. It was a blast. So, but the thing is with the salaries, right?
Yeah.
I often wonder is with the salaries getting as high as they are, you're watching these young kids, right? And it is going to tie into the Astro series because we did get the call ups with
Yeah.
Dominguez and Wells,
Right.
right? So we'll take
Yep.
a deeper, I'll take a deeper dive into it. I'm going to kind of blanket it a little bit because I don't want to take anything away from tomorrow, but I really want to bring this up tonight as well. Um, we saw that these kids came up, and you're seeing a lot more youth in baseball overall, not just on the Yankees.
Hmm.
Is it where you're seeing they're still playing for something? They're playing for their contract. Sometimes you get that feeling that once they get the big contract, they kind of lose a little of their momentum to where they lose where they came from type of mentality.
It's a
Where
complacency
they
thing.
don't play as hard, they don't hustle down the line. They're making millions of dollars. It's not like the old. We always say, in the old days, there was a lot more hustle.
Yeah.
Because when the season, they didn't want the season to end because then they had to go get another job in the off season. They weren't making money like they were now. And
Nope.
I think
Not at
that's
all.
that shift in the game where players, once they get that deal, once they start making money, they don't care as much. Do you think that that's something that baseball needs to look at?
Yeah, I think that basically they're probably they need to start doing and implementing a little more stricter salary cap than where they're at right now. Hello, and thank you for your service, retired war vet.
It's going on
Uh,
retired.
yeah. So
Right.
basically, you see what they're. I mean, you want to talk about MLB players getting paid recently here in Dallas. In the basketball offseason, Kyrie Irving got a $42 million 3-year deal. He's getting
Yeah.
like some ridiculous $130 million to play 82 games on a hardwood. That's
No,
that's about half. That's half the season of MLB. MLB is 162, and you can probably make a case, and giving the players some benefit of the doubt that yeah, it's a 6 month grueling thing, but still, there's no justification for players to be worth like some ridiculous 6 or 7 digit figure. That it's insane. But just as it was pointed out in the chat, the inflation has done it.
Yeah,
A big deal was made in the late '80s when $1 million deal per year was given out. I believe it was to Kevin McReynolds on the Mets, and that was basically an answer to something that George Steinbrenner did with the Yankees.
I think this comment here I think Li's comment too. It's you know
Yeah.
I think he's onto something with this point where he thinks running out is overrated. No, you forced him to make the play, Li. You have to force him to put it in play. There's no such thing that there's no Marianos anymore where it just takes it's a one pitch show that there's a reason why he had the Enter Sandman moniker around him.
Yeah.
They don't have those lights out players anymore. Everybody makes errors.
Yeah.
So you just have to hope that you're going to be one of those. You're going to hit into an error.
It's a complacency issue.
You have to hustle down the line. You don't see that as much because it's like, all right, if I get out, I get out. At least they're just happy that they hit the ball.
Can I bring up one more point that this ties into when you talk about players getting overvalued? Look at young rookies, anybody from like young rookies to like prestige veterans, like the piece of shit Wander Franco situation. 11 years, 182 million for that kid. What did he do? I mean, the money got to his head. There's a lot of off the field drama that basically ensues when it comes like that. It's about your mental discipline too, on all facets, on and off the field.
Yeah, I don't think it's not wanting to be a Hall of Famer, Ruben. I think it's a little deeper than that. I think that I really do think that drive is in every player. They just take their foot off the gas. Yeah, it's you don't see the passion once it gets to that. You put it in here, right? It's the guaranteed contract's a problem. I think they are. I think the guaranteed contract. They need to look. I know you don't want to put a salary cap on it, right? And I would not want to do that either. If you're going to be getting these payments, if you're going to be getting paid, you get paid. Your salary is your salary, right? And I know it works out different. What's going on, D-Rod? And you want to see MH? I see you in here too. Yeah, the bold brilliance. I don't know about brilliant, but we are bald. I just there might have to be the one. I think the worst thing that happened to MLB salaries was the no trade clauses. I think that's a big problem because they feel like, well, there's nothing. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to get paid, and they're not going to move me because I'm not going anywhere. We're seeing that narrative a lot around guys like Stanton.
Yeah,
where it's he's got the no trade clause. He's not going to want to go to many places. Maybe across the Queens to stay in New York, maybe the Dodgers, but nobody's taking on that.
Dodgers are not on his no trade. Dodgers are not on his no trade clause, so I would try to persuade him to go there if they don't re-up JD Martinez.
John D-Rod throws in here. No hustling down the line is baseball's version of bare minimum Mondays. Yeah, I agree with that.
He's not wrong.
No, because like I said, it doesn't matter if they go 0 for 4 or 4 for 4. There's no incentive. I think part of the salary. Look, you're gonna. I know. I know. I said every penny that you get signed for, but I would prefer salaries to have the incentives on it. Yeah. And Ruben's right. A-Rod, for all his faults, he wanted to play 162.
Let me add one more player to what the point that Ruben made. Robinson Cano.
Yeah.
He basically jogged down the line. And even Girardi basically, had his moments about that. I don't think he really could, say much because he's like, oh, we have to protect the health of our high-priced veterans and whatever. We can't have them go miss time to hamstring issues and stuff like that. It's getting to be a very silly version of stuff that you see on a Vic DiBitetto video. Recently, he said something which actually caught my attention. He said players these days are on the IL for spraining an ingrown ass hair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, dude.
This is actually a really good point from Li here.
Yeah.
Glaber, not the fastest down the line, not the fast. Doesn't have the quick.
He can still beat Canelo,
but he's only had one injury in his career. He stays healthy. He's available every game. That's something that has to be paid attention to. The other thing, and I like this. Right, this is where we're gonna, if Stanton got paid based on games played, all of a sudden you'd see him play more.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah,
Ruben, you're right.
Wanted to. Now this is going to be a double-edged sword, but I think it's fun to go back and forth on what you guys all think. If salaries were broken down to this is what you're going to make per game, right? The other side to that, it's like, okay, they're not good. They're going to want to take care of themselves to make sure that they play as many games as possible, so they get paid. You could also have the flip side, which is the negative to it. Teams are going to be more incentivized to rest guys because if they don't play, they don't get paid.
Yeah.
So, do you guys think that that's something that you would be in favor for, or you just think it's something? No, it would never work. But I'd just like to hear your thoughts of what you think about that. Let's get to some more of these comments here because you guys are really bringing some good points of view onto this. Do you create different pay tiers for players?
So NFE define pay tiers depending on what?
Yeah, drop a comment. Let us know what give us a rough estimate of what
is there a criteria to this, like games played, achievements, surpass, number of hits, home runs, slugging percentage, on base percentage, WAR, WRC plus, any of the stats driven, kind of like if you look at Andy Pettitte when he first came back to the Yankees after his I think he retired once and came back and they gave him like an incentive laden deal. I think you got to go back to that kind of model. I mean, players will still end up making their money if they basically, get off their tush and basically, perform to the standards needed.
It's like this one. I like, baseball would be more competitive if salaries were based on games played, hits, home runs, RBIs, etc. Here's the problem is, and what made me really think of it, and I try to think of a million different ideas to throw in to keep the discussion, to bring into the discussion. So, it's Brad, you're right. It's a stupid idea. Teams would tank more if they got paid per game. I think it is a stupid idea. Just do it out there, just to see what you guys want. Just to keep the thought tank.
Maybe part two of the discussion needs to be as a counter to players being paid on an incentive basis. We need to have owners more motivated. Maybe that needs to be part two of this conversation to actually have a competitive product on the field. We can't be seeing the perennial Kansas City Royals, the Pittsburgh Pirates, this year's God forbidden Oakland, soon to be Las Vegas A's. We can't see that.
Maybe baseball does need to. Maybe they need to go to the salary cap. You
Yeah.
know, maybe there needs to be a cap on how much you can make. I know it's going to put a lot more money into the owner's pockets,
Mhm.
you know, but if there was a way to say where, right, if you're, you got to have, right, here's a way we could put
Mhm.
NFE's tiers into this.
Mhm. Yeah.
You have your base salary, right?
Mhm.
If you win uh, a batting title or a Gold Glove,
Yeah.
you get a $5 million bonus on top of your salary. If your team makes it to the postseason, if you make it to the
Mhm.
front, if you get in a wild as a wild card,
Mhm.
you get almost like a playoff share, like how it used to be.
Yeah.
Teams wanted to get to the World Series because they got paid more if they did. You
Let
know,
me add. Let me add one counterpoint to what you just said about getting more incentives. At what point do we start talking about incentives before even the incentives itself start getting impacted by inflation and those incentives itself, start getting to be worth more than 5, 6, 7 million, the single digit million values. They eventually escalate to the double digit millions and so on.
yeah. Well, it could. Yeah, I can see that happening or
Yeah.
working or whatever. Yeah, but no, I just maybe now. Yeah, and retired. You're right. The way games are played now, I don't think there's going to be a lot of broken records anytime soon. I
No.
think we're going to have to wait for a whole generation of baseball. Just there's just so many. You're going to have almost like the dead ball era, where the records were looked at a little bit different, but they're still recognized. I think we're going to see something like that over time.
Yeah. There is a point to be made, though. There is a point to be made, though, when you start to see uh, the players, get these incentive like contracts. Maybe the game product on the field starts to improve a little bit because they're inspired to actually hit and perform. You start seeing more 300 hitters because right now, if you look at the league, what's the average bat? The league average for batting average, like 240, 250.
Yeah. No, it's you're going to see stuff like that. You
Yeah, so
know,
you're gonna start seeing the product overall on the field improve. More and more people are gonna be motivated to do things like hit 300, have a on base percentage high enough, slugging, BABIP, batting average for balls in play. All these things you'd start to see escalate maybe.
no, it's. I mean, there's a million ways that this could be looked at, talked
Hmm.
about, broken down, which
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up. Um, is I always enjoy talking. Despite of what Brad thinks, I enjoy talking about things that get people thinking, discussing, debating,
Hmm.
arguing. It's fun.
Yeah.
Um, no, I just think the game is so broken. There's got to be a way to fix it. We're always talking about the hustle, the hustle, the hustle. Well,
Yep.
there's a contrast here in New York, right? We all get on Glaber for not hustling down the line, saying that he's slowing down to first base than Cano. But then
Hmm.
we'll rip apart Nimmo, who thinks he's Usain Bolt when he gets a walk, going to first base. So where's the middle ground where we're like, okay, that's acceptable.
Look at
That
NFE's
that,
comment about
that hustle is
basic.
okay. That's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's supposed to be. Sports is supposed to be very fluid,
Yeah.
and you know, you have your game plans, but you have to be able to adjust mid game. But you also have to have players that I think when we talk about the hustle, right? I don't want somebody hustling down the line like a guy like Stanton, right? Very fragile player.
Hmm.
A good player, just fragile. You don't want him running like Usain Bolt. You don't want him running like Nimmo does on a walk. But there's got to be that middle ground where we're like, okay, we're not going to criticize Torres for doing it because he stays healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot get on Stanton for doing it so he doesn't get hurt.
Yep, exactly. Agreed.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's the other part of it.
So
You know,
a lot was made when we got Stanton in 2018 about that albatross-like contract, and is it going to be kind of impactful in a negative way for us for years to come? I think we're seeing part of that right now, and one has to believe that getting these high-priced salaries, can you consider it to be like a financial participation trophy that, hey, this guy got this ridiculous double-digit number of million of dollars, and because he's shown to be a team player. Great case and example, Aaron Judge running through a wall for his team. That guy goes all out. I think he might be the lone exception to the rule, to be fair and honest, even though he did have his years where he was injured quite a lot, and maybe the injury factor has to be taken in as one of these incentives as well. However many games you're going to be on the IL, it's got to be treated like, I'll use my analogy of the world I'm in IT consulting. An IT contractor, basically, if you take time off for work and you're an hourly contractor, you don't get paid. The same kind of principle, I think, needs to be instituted for the IL. Although I do get why there's payment being made, because the teams have insurance covering those payments. See, Jason, Jacoby Ellsbury, for example.
no, Ellsbury, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then another one, Carl Pavano.
Yeah. Oh, we can go. Oh, we can go into a whole other fucking discussion with that shit.
Oh yeah.
But it trying to think how to put this, on the fly, right?
Yeah, take your time.
And you want to hear, there was a comment that I saw. Here it is, right, from Ruben, and the Stanton kept playing 2017, 2018 years. This contract would have been a steal right now. The inflation increasing these contracts. If you were able to get, and that's where Ruben's on to something.
Mm-hmm.
He's too tight. Yeah, his second comment to this, something that we've been saying on the show for a long time with Robin.
You need fluidity and flexibility, and you need to be active on a nearly day-to-day basis. This whole bullpen budget, oh, this guy performed an X way today, so we give him off, or basically, if it's a Major League Baseball version of Esteban Florial, where you play him one day, rest him for 5, and do all the shenanigans. This actually, kind of quasi dives into why Boone isn't a great manager to begin with. He's just lucky to have the kids called up and actually rescuing his ass. Otherwise, he would have been, launched from a cannon a long time ago. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna digress there further. I'm just,
Yeah, you're seeing,
Yeah.
especially as closely as we all follow the Yankees. I don't think
Right.
nobody here or in the chat half-asses their fandom. But when it comes to Stanton, the one thing that I have said and I stand by, if they didn't bring him here and make him a DH right away, Stanton's contract would look fucking sweet. It would, like Ruben said, it would be considered a steal of a contract.
Mm-hmm.
You would think he was underpaid for the production, but we made him a DH right away. We had him sitting tight on the bench, and then expected him to stay, like you said, the word you used, stay fluid.
Stay fluid, and this complacency would go away with it, because people, when you get off their keister, and then you're getting them off their previous regimen that they're used to. Like, see, he's come to the AL at that point during that trade, and it's a completely different show. At that point, the NL did not have a DH, the AL did. So it was an entirely new world from, yeah, I agree with NFE. Analytics does control boom, so we need to do something about that too, but that's a separate discussion.
Yeah, and I know I'm pulling. I, I think next Monday night we should just have Ruben on with us.
Yeah,
But
Ruben is my type of guy. He's a numbers guy.
Panel on midnight open panel that might be fun. But it's
Yeah.
I mean the comments are on fire, right? I'm loving it.
Yes.
And we're gonna get to the pitching, the pitching contracts in a second. But we really I do want to get to that. But I think with the position players, I think it's just more because they play every day. I think the discussion goes, it can go in so many different directions.
Oh, easily.
As opposed to a starter that goes every 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Jonathan, I know you love open panels, and I always love talking baseball.
Be careful, when Jonathan joins after dark panels, the dark Jonathan starts to appear. Hint, hint.
Hey, no, that's
Jonathan. I'm only giving you a hard time, man. It's all.
No,
fun and games.
wait a minute, Jonathan can he could take it.
No, but
No,
Jonathan, I think on was it during the trade deadline that with the Morning Brew, and this was an oddity seeing Jonathan drop F-bombs left, right, and center. Jonathan is like your clean, well-spoken, well-articulated type of person, speaking, very, low and to the surface. He gets his point out, and that's that.
Yeah, it's
red lightsaber. Oh my God, he's gonna. Is it the double-edged one that Darth Maul used, Jonathan?
Yeah, you'll look.
You can give that to me.
The lightsaber. Is that because of my pie class today? My Star Wars pie class. Is that why you bring up the lightsaber? Right. It's.
No, I think
one of the other comments that was made is, these guys are. No, I remember that, Brad, when Jonathan went off, and we were all in shock that they broke Jonathan. I didn't even think he knew those words, but no. Do you think that another part of the problem where we complain about how much money these guys are making for the limited amount of productivity? The off season used to be for they used to go and do other jobs. Spring training was to get into shape. These guys are not shutting themselves down for any period of time. Is that another reason why there are so many injuries now?
Yeah, the youngsters are going to the area.
Players that are older, that are not accustomed to clocks in the game.
Yeah.
I think that was a big problem for Scherzer.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of pitchers that were having trouble. There were also, batting averages. They made all these changes to improve offense, but the offense numbers started to drop across the board. It's a 1,000 batting average is perfect. We're commending now people that hit 250, which means you're only getting on base 25% of the time through the year.
That's a participation trophy.
Which means you're failing 75%. Which is why the analytics drive me crazy. And I know nobody cares about batting average anymore. Bullshit.
Yeah.
These are the same people that are like, well, these numbers say their batting average is 100. Like, look at the productivity that we've gotten from Volpe. You look at his batting average, you would think that he sucked.
Yeah.
When you take a deeper dive to the numbers, you're like, you know what? He's actually having a very solid rookie year. So, there's that balance there as well.
Look at LI Yankee King's comment of, what he said about the Braves with the Big Five. This is the current version of what the 90s dynasty Yankee teams did with Posada, Pettit, Jeter, Mo, Bernie. We need to get back to that model once again. And that model, we've already started paying Judge, and we need maybe to lock up. Um, I would say we start locking up Volpe to almost a Wander Franco type of contract, maybe slightly more than that. I mean, we need to keep him here. We need to perhaps start giving a little more respect and his fair share to Peraza as well. Wells is proven himself to be our lefty catcher behind the plate. At catcher, one of the key successes to a recipe is having a lefty righty platoon behind the plate. Uh, there have been a few. There have been a few exceptions, I will say. '96, you had Laritz and Girardi, both righties, but both had a great acumen for the game. So you do have these one-off exceptions. You had in 2000 for the Mets, you had Piazza and I forget his backup. That's the guy who hit like walk-off home run against Arizona. Todd Pratt. Yeah. So you had those one-off exceptions. Don't do that to Volpe. Wait. What's D-Rod saying? That's exactly what we've been saying. Don't do that to Volpe. Don't do what? Don't pay him early on. I mean, what D-Rod? Let me make my point here. All I'm trying to say is you got to see the Yankees have been somewhat stingy at times to try to pay high price free agents. If they have an established core and if they're getting a younger group of guys together around which they can get some established veterans and do the similar thing to like what they did in the 90s, that's the model you need to get back to. That's what helped you. That's what the Braves are doing.
I think what D-Rob was saying was, don't pay him now when you don't have to pay him for 3 more years.
Okay, but I'm saying when the time comes. I'm not saying do it this off season. I mean, if that was the misunderstanding, I can see his point. But I'm just saying when the time comes, you got to start locking up these guys at an early enough position. From the three game series with the Astros, that's a small sample set for Dominguez, but he's proven. I mean, if he can handle a series like the Astros, which usually is a fire and heat type of series, that's been the ALCS 5 of the last however many years, that's been a playoff series at some level. If he can handle that, I'm pretty optimistic that he can handle some of the lower level teams, and that's what we're going to be seeing in the upcoming remaining month of the season.
I think the other thing why I agree that, if with the season that Volpe's had, if you're able to give it almost like what you did with Severino, because you don't have to give him the 10-year contract.
No.
But look, we're going to buy out your arbitration, and we're going to give you said price, or amount of salary per year. I'm all for that.
Probably a 10 to 15 AAV.
You don't have to pay him $40 million a year because of one good season.
Nope.
But if you could almost do like what they did with Severino, where it was just simple, it was 4 years, $10 million per year. I think that anybody that complains that they can't survive on, this is the problem. This is why I wanted to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be like, well, 10 million's too. We don't care. We would love to make a $10 million salary, and they scoff at it like it's chump change. That's the disconnect with these athletes now, and the fan is the money. Yeah. It's not like there's no. They don't have that passion for the game like we have watching it. They're not playing with the passion that we watch with. That's the problem. I think that's the core problem.
Yep. So you got to get a young core of players in. I mean, you basically had contract. You almost had Bernie Williams sign with Boston. Think about
Yeah.
that one. Well, can you imagine Bernie
Oh,
wearing those
I don't want to
ugly
imagine.
trash? Yeah, wearing an ugly ass Red Sox out, uniform. Come on, that
Oh my
would.
god!
Yeah, yeah,
Don't even say that.
yeah. And then let's look at 1995, where Mariano was almost traded and Jeter was almost gone in favor of Felix Fermin at shortstop. Whoa, wait, what? What did I just say? Felix Fermin?
You know, and, I mean, believe me, there are a lot of if we could rewind the clock,
Yeah,
there's a lot of moves that we're glad that were not made, and some that were made. We're like, what the how could you even think about it? I don't even want to. Yeah, that's too depressing. It's been a
I got
nice weekend. I'm not going to ruin it.
I got two words for Jonathan's comment when he says Judge almost signed with the Giants. I got two words for you,
Almost.
Carson Judge.
That was, oh my God.
Yeah, John Heyman should be banned from Twitter for that one.
So, all right. Eli disagrees with me on this one. Um, where, because I disagree, Tats, I think they have a passion, but why are the billionaires given a pass, but the athletes are wanting more? Fans say they are greedy. It makes no sense. Their careers are short. No, I'm not saying not to pay them. I just think
We
I
need to
just really
we need to have a structure to pay them.
yeah. There's got to be a way to incentivize them more. Maybe go like I started to say earlier. Maybe go back to the way it was, in the
Yeah.
Yogi Berra era, where if you didn't make the World Series, you wanted your incentive was to have that postseason piece of the pie. They don't care anymore. It doesn't matter if they win the World Series or if they bat 100, or their team only wins 60 games. They're getting the same fucking money. So what? Why bother trying to play better if they're just still going to collect their bag? That's the problem.
Uh,
That's what I want to know. How does that get fixed?
Tats,
That
I want to cover Jonathan's comment, what he said about the Mike Lowell trade. That was bad. And who do you think made that trade, and why is he still GM here 25 years later after the fact that he came? He made really ridiculous trades like that. I can
yeah,
see him letting Chaparro walk in free agency, and Chaparro might turn into another similar type of an example.
yeah, and no, I don't think anybody's saying
Hmm.
not to pay these guys. Look, if I can make more money, I'm not going to say no. You know what? I could live on my salary. I'm good. No, you always want your goal in life is to always have more.
Hmm.
That's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do about And I'm not begrudging anybody for making money.
Nope.
I begrudge some of these athletes, and it's not just baseball.
Yeah.
It's not just the Yankees. It's not just baseball. It's across the board. It's that they come off like they don't have that passion for winning at all because they're making their money anyway.
I got
You
to
know,
caution. I got to caution
when,
William
when is
M
the
on his
last time
contract.
you want to go? You see these athletes. They go into these autograph signings, and you have to
Yeah.
pay to get in. What? They don't make enough fucking money.
Right.
It's maybe maybe for that place they got to rent the space. The team can't cover that and just let the fans come and just have a good time. You got to it's always everybody wants to make money. That's it. If you're not looking to make money in life, you're really not paying attention to how to survive. Right? We always need more,
Yeah.
but how much is enough?
Yeah.
It's like, do you ever realize, I'm going to switch this up a little bit just to kind of lighten it a little, right? Because that's just what I like to do. But do you ever realize when you're looking at your state's lottery, right? You got the Mega and you got Powerball, right?
Yeah.
And one will say 13 million, and like Powerball will be 400. They'll only play for the 400 because that 13 million is just not enough. Like that's just
Yeah.
the greed
It's
of
a greed.
society. Yeah, it's greed, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we figured it out. It's just all about greed. It's not about you know how often, and you do see it a lot, but I want to see it. You see it enough, but I want to see more.
Yeah.
Like, players that they don't sign for the kids.
Nope.
It's like these athletes are a kid's idol. They're their heroes. They
Yeah.
live by every. They live on everything that you do. Every
Yeah.
excitement, bit of excitement that you give them makes their day better.
Yeah. Tats,
The,
look at D-Rod's comment. Real fan appreciation is half price beer and hot dogs. So all I got to say to that is, I just hope they don't deploy the Uber Eats promotion strategy and making these coupons, because if you look at the delivery, they'll add like, oh, well, there's a delivery fee to get it to your seat and whatever. They'll find a way to make money back if you give them that avenue. Economics behind anything these days, whether it's delivery service, food service at a sporting event, there's a method to this business.
yeah, and it goes to, I think Ruben nails this on the head. Jordan played every day, every game, because he knew that might be the one chance a fan might see him live.
Yeah,
Bingo. Kobe was the same way. There were a lot, and there are a lot of athletes that were like that. You know, but there are not enough anymore. We don't have any more Jordans and what did I just say? Bryant, Kobe Bryant.
I will
Where
give you one though. I will give you one though. He did have some injuries, but then again, these days in sport, who doesn't? Um, you're looking at a player who came to the Mavericks in 1998, in Dirk Nowitzki, a young kid that came
okay,
from Wurzburg, Germany. He played 21 years with the same team. They had his retirement ceremony was called 41-21-1. His jersey number, the number of years he played, and the one was with one team. He had opportunities to go play with the Lakers for exorbitant amounts of money. He didn't sign. Why? Loyalty.
yeah, the loyalty is gone.
Yeah.
The loyalties and sorry, it's all that is the fault of the athlete himself or herself. Um, all right, sorry, Ruben. Let me go back a little bit to finish off his comment before. My generation of millennials, Gen Z, too self-centered about their own interests. In my opinion, it shows with the players. Yeah.
Bingo. Bingo.
Now
Ruben, you nailed it. You nailed
that
it.
to that, that is. I'm trying to choose my words wisely, not to contradict myself.
Okay.
When was the last time that you were able to see? I think no. Here's where my thought is now.
Yeah, go ahead.
The collection, the secondary market for the giveaways, like right, like Yankee bobbleheads or whatever team it may be. You know, I think more. I think they need to do more events where it's you're trying to get whether the merchandise is or when I started to say with the kids getting the autographs from the players. Sign my
Right.
bat, sign my ball.
Hmm.
It's um, these adults are pushing the kids out of the way because they want to get that signature in the picture so they can sell it. It's not for their own collection. They're looking to get something out of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's the problem. That's part of the
Financial
problem.
gain, financial gain,
Right?
financial gain, and financial
The
greed.
the other thing is that ruined the game. D-Rod brings it
Hmm.
up. Free agency.
Bingo. That's another
Free
one.
agent,
Solid point.
you don't see players, get signed by a team, and they're there. There's no more Derek Jeters. There's no more Marianos. Where no more. And it doesn't even matter what the team is. I'm referring to Yankees because it's a Yankee show.
Yeah.
You're not seeing, these guys loyal. It's not about being loyal to the team. It's also loyal to the fan base. These kids that want to follow. And it also ties into not just free agency but fantasy sports too.
Yeah.
Also killed the game.
Yeah.
It's killing sports. You know, People
Yeah.
aren't fans of teams anymore. They're fans of the players.
Yeah.
It's he's my favorite player, so if he gets traded to this team, I'm going to root for, like for argument's sake, you have a guy like Glaber, right? Li, Mario, and I know that they're not bandwagons,
Yeah.
so I'm using them because they're that big of a fan of them.
Yeah.
If say Glaber got traded to Milwaukee, they're gonna the last thing you want is to see them start. Well, I'm gonna root for Milwaukee now because that's where my player is.
Right.
It shouldn't LeBron. Actually, I think LeBron's a good example.
Yeah.
Everybody was a Miami Heat fan. Then they were the Cavs fan. They followed him all over the place.
You know what destroyed the NBA during LeBron's time? That whole 2010 debacle of showing the decision on ESPN. Because after that,
Oh my God, that was terrible.
you
And
saw
it lose
Cavs
anyway.
fans. Yeah, and then you saw Cavs fans burning the LeBron jersey. What happened 4 years later? They embraced him with open arms. They're like, "Welcome back, our golden child. Come win us some trophies." They went to like what is it, 3 or 4 straight NBA finals against the Golden State Warriors. 2016 was a Cinderella story. That had all the feelers. That if you want to talk about an example, not entirely of loyalty, but at least trying to embrace your home, state and your home team where you grew up. That was the story right there. He embraced the fact that he made a mistake to chase greed, but he also talked about how going to the Heat and going through that entire, 4 year stretch of his life also helped him, mature a little and learn about his mistakes. Sometimes you have to make those mistakes in order to understand what loyalty really is. Now, talk about loyalty. Would you say this past offseason, even though Judge got paid an exorbitant amount of money, 40 million a year for the next 9 years, he was getting obscene numbers from the Padres and Giants, and it's something north of 400 million. Yet he chose to come back to the Yankees. And
Yeah,
it also goes back to a few things what he said last year in some of the interviews with some of the media tycoons. If you remember that one episode, that one scene in Toronto where that kid who was gifted the Aaron Judge home run ball, he basically, that was a demonstration of being a fan of a particular player, maybe of a particular team. That kid cried because it was like a dream come true for him. The very next day, they were invited to the visitors' dugout to meet with their player, and it was one of those moments of feelers. One of the questions that was raised then is, would you consider joining back with the New York Yankees and re-signing? He gave a very diplomatic answer because I don't think he could even see what was coming up next. But deep down inside, you had to believe there was some feeling that, hey, this is a fan base that's passionate and wants me here. I will do what I can to the best of my ability to make sure that happens. And lo and behold, he did.
Hold on. Excuse
You okay?
This nasty cough today. Yeah, too much salt water over the weekend.
Okay.
Too much fresh air. But Eli, I'm gonna pick on you because one, you're I know you can handle it, right?
Yeah.
You made the statement here that you don't blame LeBron because he made more money, and that it can't be all about the money. Everybody wants to make. Look, like I said, if you're able to get that kind of money, go for it. But when you get it, doesn't mean that you don't have to give it. That you have to take your foot off the gas. This course getting on my nerves now. But I understand that you're always looking at everything from a financial point of view, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. But what about? Don't look, not from us that are in our 20s, 30s, 40s, or however.
50s.
It's what about the 5, 6, 7-year-olds? I always feel it's always best to remember. It goes back to one of the things we said early to kick it off. Go back to where don't forget where you came from.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes athletes forget it's not about so much our generation, it's the new generation of fans. It's that little kid. Sometimes you have to go back to being a little kid. And there's nothing wrong with, going into that for a little while. Do you think that that's also a part of the problem with the salaries, or just the players' mentality? Did they forget what it's like to be a kid watching the sport or trying to fall in love with the sport?
I think a good segue from that discussion, Uncle Tats, basically look at the trajectory of Aaron Judge's career from 2016 to now. He came up the same day with Tyler Austin as call-ups during that 2016 year. They had back-to-back home runs in that game against the Rays. But then after that, his batting average took a dive and whatnot. And there's a story out there. He told Mookie Betts about how he got, his agent basically gave him wind of this other batting coach that he basically got on with after that year. And that's where things really turned around for him. He also, the story that also came out is he wore a tattoo on his forearm just to remind him of the batting average that he had in the.
Oh, he had it written in his locker, I thought.
In his locker, and he also had a tattoo. It was 179 or something, like, if I remember right.
Okay.
And
I remember.
So,
I didn't know about. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't know about the tattoo. I got to look into that one.
Yeah. So basically, he had that just to remind himself that, hey, I've been called up. I've made my lifelong dream come true. This is my moment. I need to do everything possible, fathomable to succeed in the regular season. So far, which he has. I will give him that. Playoffs, of course, just like A-Rod, it took him a little while. Once he started getting more acclimated to playoffs, then came his 2009 season.
Yeah, it's a nonstop revolving door. You know, with the with the teams wanting to make the most money off of these guys, the players wanting to make it. You know, it's a power struggle. Is how we're going to wrap this up. It's a power struggle. There's no right answer.
Yeah.
There's no way to fix it. It is what it is. You know, as fans get older, you know, when you're a fan as a kid, as you get older, and you start learning all the behind the scenes stuff like we talk about, you know, on a daily basis. I wish I could go back to when I was a little league. You know, when you saw your favorite player your whole childhood. He was right there for you to go see, and you know, whenever the season started.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're like, you know, it's just a shame now where with like my nephew, right? He was a Dodgers fan. He loved the Dodgers because he became he was a very big fan of Bellinger.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Bellinger got moved, he wanted to change teams because he wanted to root for his favorite player.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, it doesn't, you know, and we're trying to explain to him it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You know, if you're going to root for, and I mean, everything in this room was Dodgers. And it's that, and that's what I'm not picking, you know, believe me, I'm not picking on my nephew. I'm just, it just falls into today's discussion. You know, believe me, anybody picked on my nephew, I'd beat the fuck out of him. You know, but
I pick on him all the time.
Yeah, believe me, pick on me more than I can handle my. You know, don't worry about that. I got Brad to annoy the shit out of me. I get my abuse, but
Yeah.
you know, you have to stay. You know, there's no loyalty. There's no loyalty to the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You know, fans are more loyal to the player, but the player is more loyal to their bank.
Yeah.
There's nothing back to the fan. That's a problem.
William makes a point on what he believes the Yankees need: another solid starter, a closer, and one more left-handed bat. I'm going to add one more thing there, basically, William. I'm going to say two starters because Herman and Severino are likely gone unless Severino takes an incentive-laden deal like we're talking about, because this year he really shit the bed. So I'm going to say we're probably going to need potentially three starters. The third one in the equation is a replacement for Cortez, because his shoulder cannot really, in my opinion, handle the burden of a full season. You see Boone going out there basically taking him out after the second time through the rotation, whether it's middle of the third, middle of the fourth, or whatever the inning be. The burden that he took on in the last full year, yeah, he made the All-Star team great, but in the end, he was gassed out. He had a good start to the last year, but he basically flamed out, and now you're going to see an entire burden, you know, on that left shoulder. It's a rotator cuff that he's going through. I think you got to put him back into the pen. I think you need a Blake Snell type, because he could really complement having him and Rodon. Yeah, Jonathan is right. Cortez was an opener back in 2021, and prior, he put him back there. So going back to the rotation, bring Snell as your another left-hander, because a good rotation has a balance when you have at least one or two lefties in there. You can't be predominantly one-sided or the other. Closer, people are going to say Hader. I don't know if Hader can handle it, but you know, we're probably got to look at a couple other options. For another starter, you might consider Yamamoto. lefty batter, you've got one coming up from you've got a couple coming up from the minors. You probably go get a Bellinger over a Soto because to me, Dominguez is your Soto.
Yeah, and before we get into the pitching, I know we're over the hour mark. Drop a thumbs up in the comments if you want us to keep going, and we'll start getting into the pitching contracts and how those are can be
Yeah,
restructured. Because I mean, Sunil, if you're still up, we could keep
yeah,
talking.
yeah. I'm
Um,
here.
but I want to bring this up. Um, he's on the opposition. When it comes to the loyalty to a company or a team, and there's nothing wrong with look. You want to disagree with me, or you don't see my point of view. That's fine. I'm trying to peel it back to what it was like to be a kid again.
Yeah,
You know, it's like I'll go out. My wife and I, we go out on the boat all the. We go out fishing on the charter boats all the time. Over the weekend, it was. I mean, there were so many kids on the boat, and hearing the excitement of them catching their first fish,
yeah,
I'm like, I would love to have that feeling again. That euphoria of the first time that you had your first catch, the first time you
yeah.
looked at the ball, held a bat in your hand, the first time you saw walked inside Yankee Stadium and you saw the grass. What I would give to have that moment again and not be like on my way to the stadium going, all right, well, here's the lineup. And you're already starting. I'm already starting to plan different scenarios that I'm going to talk about on the next show.
Yeah.
Where you kind of lose it a little bit. It's you have to don't forget what it felt like as a kid.
Yeah.
To be a fan of a team or a player or a sport. There has to you have to keep that in the back of your head. I think
Yeah.
that's something that's so important to do. I'm going to go back to that comment, Ruben. Right, but what's going on, Will? Let me see you show up. Welcome, welcome. Um, but I'm going to get myself one more drink before get into the pitches. But so I'm going to step away from the screen for a bit.
Yeah.
So, Sunil, the
Yeah.
channel is yours for about 5 minutes.
Yeah. No
So
problem. Take your time.
enjoy yourself. All right. So I'm going
Do
to step
yeah.
out,
Do it. Yeah.
freshen up, and then when we come back, we'll get into the pitching, the pitching contracts, the structures.
Yeah.
They make more money, they pitch less. We're going to break it all down. I'll be back
Yeah.
in a few. Sunil,
Yeah.
stage is yours.
Yep. So, Li, to your point about loyalty to a company or a team, I think you have to sort of, act a little in a differentiation manner when you talk about corporate America versus a baseball team, because loyalty in corporate America, I can tell you from personal experience myself, it's out the door, especially when you're in the world of consulting and contracting in IT like I am. It's a completely different ballgame. So you do make a valid point, but I'm just saying you have to, keep those two arenas separately when you're making that point, one from the other. Other than that, Will M. Authentic on-field jerseys at ballpark are insanely priced. Yeah, because you're at the stadium basically, and you're paying the overpriced markup. I didn't even go to corporate America. I went in the world of pro wrestling. Okay, but still, you still got to separate, uh, you know, sports from corporate America. That's all I'm saying, Li. Your point is not wrong. I'm just saying you got to use the context separately in each side. Death Finch. I remember, and my dad and I going in August of '98. That must have been something special, Dev. August of '98. That team was already entrenched in first place by a country mile. That had to have been something special. I'm jealous of you there. Uh, Retired war vet. Yeah, those feelings are one of the kind. Yeah, and unfortunately, they don't exist too much these days. People are like, Bobby Tats and I were saying, it's more of a fan of a particular player than it is fans of a particular team. Although I'm not saying that team fandom doesn't exist these days, it does, but when it comes to, yeah, Ruben, exactly. I'm going through that situation myself. I mean, there's periods in between contracting where it just feels like dull and unmotivational, and you don't know where you're going to get it. But anyway, I don't want to dive too much into an economic situation because that's another topic for another day and another channel. This is Yankee content, so let's stick on that. Li, again, learn from pro wrestling classes. Again, that's the business of being an athlete, and then sports. Okay. Somehow athletes, I feel, by their salaries are overpaid. They're spoiled. In addition to having the pay, the salary for the player, for the athlete, you have to pay for these other packages just to watch that sport. You have to pay for Prime Video, Apple, MLB.TV, and a bunch of other things just to get a freaking game. So on top of overpriced and overpaid athletes, you have the entire arena of all the streaming services you need just to catch your favorite team. And all of these financial deals are there just to support and get the team the revenue stream to be able to go out and sign these players. When you're not a team like the Yankees, if you're one of those media market teams, this is what many of those teams are going through in trying to get a steady revenue source. MLB, I think, is partially at fault for the way salaries are going, and they need to take the forefront on implementing a little stricter salary structure and try to get away from the overuse of no trade clauses and all these other entitlement tactics. I think, Bob, Uncle Tats, I think, I've come up on something, just talking out loud on this topic. You know how we've implemented the pitch clock and the whole challenge situation and all of these other rules that are looked at as being obscure for the game of baseball today. So why not use that strategy and implement a curtailment of sorts on how many no trade clauses a team can have across their roster for players? Why not, get into something like that? If you're going to get into the curtailment of, the duration of a baseball game using a pitch clock, why not do that?
Yeah, it's there are ways that can be implemented where it's a positive, and there are ways it's going to be a negative. It's everything comes down to a balance. You have to be able to recognize what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
There's a lot about baseball that's not working. I think to what you were talking about, and to Jonathan's comments, is a lot of the streaming services.
Look at Mikey Miles' comment.
I would have to work two jobs just to afford all these different apps. You know what I mean? It's too much.
Look at Mikey Mazza's comment. He talks about the TV deals being a joke. I mean, many people when I tell you how I'm able to do it, see, I'm already using Amazon Prime, the entire package, paying the whatever it is, 120, 130, 40, whatever it is a year. If you break down, the a la carte pricing from Amazon Prime, how much you're going to pay individually for, like, saying, having an a la carte selection of Amazon Music, the Prime Video, and if you're going to break it down into the subsect of services that they offer, you're already reaching that price anyway. So you might as well pay all out to basically get the whole package, because there really is no difference there. Second, Apple TV Plus, being a customer of the cell phone carrier that I'm with, the T-Mobile, I get Apple TV through T-Mobile. I don't have to pay the $5 a month ridiculous price.
Yeah.
So I'm already getting that. I'm also getting MLB.TV. So basically, somehow I'm finding ways to strategize and get my, liking through these tactics. It's come to that. People have to basically, look at alternative methods to, get all the sports they want. And unfortunately, Apple TV Plus now has MLB and MLS. Prime has NBA, NFL, and MLB. So they're getting their dish into all the three sports arenas, all the three major ones.
Yeah, it makes you wish you were back to the days of cable.
Right.
Where it was, you just had to, sit in front of your TV. Everything was right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's, they should have just had like a Cablevision app, where you can watch your cable, your cable on your phone instead of all this stupid shit.
I thought Cablevision got.
Think about people that are not in a not in the salary bracket, that they can't go and get all these apps. Or if you're an older fan and where you might be on a fixed income, you don't get to watch anything anymore. And it's so tricky of what channel everything is on. I make the joke all the time: spin the wheel, see what network you're on tonight. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
If these teams really want to keep, if they want to make the best, give the fans the best product, the best of, the best profitability is sometimes availability.
Yeah.
You have these teams, they're making these deals with these apps, whether it's Amazon, Apple, Peacock, whatever the fuck it is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. It's too much.
Yeah.
I'm spending. Retired war vet made the comment earlier. Thank God for radio. I always listen on the radio. I work at my work hours are 3 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Mm-hmm. I'm not home for the games. I listen to it through the Odyssey app. But
and then here's
the Odyssey app, it's delayed so far. Sometimes I'll get an alert that Judge hit a home run.
Yeah.
Through the MLB app.
Yeah.
Or yes notifications.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, on that app, they're still in the bottom of an inning. Like the opposing team is still at bat.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's that delayed.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why we had to stop doing the live streams for the games. It was I couldn't. What I'm listening and watching on is so behind the live action. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And also because we weren't going to compete with Pete. He's got that's his gig. Bronx Jedi, he'll do it. That's their specialty. So we decided to leave that to the experts. Right. And we tried to do it. We really did. I enjoyed doing it when we had it. But it's I'm looking in the chats. I'm like, they're like, oh, did you see that play? I'm like, what? I haven't seen it. I'm waiting 2 minutes for the delays to catch up.
And that's a lot of that is because of the latency in the streaming that has to catch up and actually stream through the internet. Now, you touched on a point earlier. The best availability, profitability is availability. Now, to that point, you look at networks like Yes, which are only available in restricted, geographical, demographic
Yeah,
areas. Now, you have Yankee fans across the country in all cities and states. Why not make the Yes Network available as a live streaming service, for the fans to watch at a relatively reasonable cost on your streaming thing, like on a YouTube TV, uh, or any of these others, like a Hulu or whatever. Even on those, the streaming, delay, I find it to be more like 30 or 45 seconds because I was talking to my friend during football season when we're watching Thursday night football. He's always saying, "Oh, wait until you see this play." I mean, he knows that because I'm on YouTube TV, I've got to wait a whole maybe 15, 30, 45 seconds just to see what he saw already because he's on direct
yeah.
TV.
It's the only one that I don't, the only app that I pay for to get
Yeah.
these games is the Yes app. So I drop cable because one, I'm not home to watch it,
Yeah.
and my downtime when I do get home, I'm either checking out people's streams. I'm not a TV person. I'm not a big movie person. If it's not baseball, I really don't care. To be honest with you, like I'm rewatching. Ruben, you're gonna laugh at this one, right? Or anybody that knows Pete and his live streams. I've been on a Golden Girls kick because his fucking music. Whenever anybody puts a super chat in, when he goes, "Thank you for being a friend,"
Yeah.
I've been watching Golden Girls for about 2 weeks now, nonstop. Because I'm like, gosh, I haven't watched. So my wife's like, "You watching Golden Girls?" I'm like, "It's Pete's fault." So
Oh, and you actually reminded me. I wanted to touch on one thing when Pete made his comment about working on the
yeah,
whole.
Pete's been working on graphics. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to throw this in at that point, and I just remember now. Pete, I have to call this out. I'm sorry, man, but it's all love and respect. You're clearly cyborg.
I thought I did not sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Pete makes me look like Sleeping Beauty. No, it's it's a great show. I love it. It really is a great fucking sitcom.
Yeah.
But I hadn't watched it in so long, and when Pete, from doing when Pete did the 24-hour stream, I heard it so much. I was hearing it in my sleep, which was great because that's how many people were donating.
Yeah.
But no, it was just one of those. I'm like, I gotta watch the show now.
Yeah,
But
and you know how Who Wants to Be a Millionaire has kind of gone into syndicate mode and on most channels wherever you see it randomly appear. Well, you know how it's like one of those reality game show things that basically
yeah,
are popularized at one point in time, but other countries keep residually making it oversee. American Idol versus insert country name idol here, for example. So American
yeah,
Idol versus Indian Idol. So we have an Indian version for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which just started in middle of August, and I kind of lost track, and I'm kind of binge streaming that too.
yeah. It's we're gonna have to. There's gonna be, I think, next Monday,
Yeah,
and we're gonna get to the pitches. I promise you. Right,
yeah,
but it's just so much going on. This stream has been fucking insane. I'm
it
loving every
is.
second of it. I should be sleeping to get ready for the morning show, but if Pete's not sleeping, I'm not either. Fuck him. But well, hey, if I want to get to Pete's level, I got to stop sleeping less. But
William
yeah,
M. Knight Rider was definitely dope, and Aaron
Night
Judge is
Rider is
basically.
awesome. But I think next Monday there's going to be no baseball talk.
Yeah,
We're going to talk sitcoms, music,
The 21st
and I
century of
do
night.
want to, and I want to dedicate one night because I wanted, like I said before, I want this to be one of those, you know, kind of peel it back a little bit, not talk about all the stressful shit of the game by game, day to day shit, and just
Yeah.
kind of spend the night just kind of relaxing. It started with one of Jason from 161 streams. After about an hour, we just started talking about where we grew up and where we live now, and I'm like, it was so laid back, and it was just a lot of. I'm like, and that's what inspired me to want to do this night show. So
Yeah.
I think that I'm going to dedicate one show where we don't talk about baseball, just TVs, music, movies.
William M is on fire here. He's saying
He's
I
killing
love. Yeah, Saved by the Bell, by the way, has been brought back on Peacock, but they've just made it like the next generation version. It's kind of like how they took Karate Kid and dived into the whole saga behind Cobra Kai. They basically made it that way. Sanford and Son, I could swear one of those guys looked like a really old Bob Watson.
it. But no, really, it goes back to, yeah. I don't want to divert to it, but next week we'll talk about the sitcoms. The old TGIF where you were locked in Friday night. You picked a friend's house to go to, and you watched 4 hours of just shit. Full House, Perfect Strangers was another one. With Balky, but
Of course not.
let's
Don't be
close this out.
ridiculous.
It's getting a little late, and for me, it's getting late. I don't know what time zone everybody else is in, but right now it's 1:27 a.m. Let's talk some more baseball because we got to get to these pitches.
Yeah.
When you look at the salaries of starters, right?
Yeah.
The pitch count, as far as that magic 100 number that drives everybody crazy. William, you mean Elf or Alf?
Alf. He's talking about Alf, the alien furry animal. Yeah.
Look, I got all of Alf on TV. But next week, right?
Yeah.
I want to get to these pitches because otherwise we'll never get to it.
Exactly.
Or I'll be talking, and then next thing you know, it'll be time to start the next show, and my wife will be like, "You never came to bed last night."
Yeah.
Because she'll be up in a couple of hours. Is there, are starting pitchers? Did the salaries do the salaries justify their workload? Is the bulk, I think is the way to kick this off in the discussion. But good night, Jonathan. Hopefully we'll see you in the morning. Thanks for hanging out with us. But are the pitchers carrying? Are they worth their money anymore? Are they able to? Do they justify their contract? What do you think?
Yeah. So you're looking at Rodon, 6 for 162. You would have thought that, with him being, hopefully, God forbid, a signal of health, a bill of health, were to benefit us. You had the fan base basically saying that, hey, we got our next CC Bulldog type, mentality.
Night, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. Good night, Willie. I mean, you saw the mentality in Rodon basically being another CC type, the big lefty bulldog type, fighter. He's got the team's back. 6 for 162 translates to like some 20-ish, 30-ish million almost. No, actually, it's less than 30 because it's like in the upper 20s, 25, 27 somewhere. So you look at that contract and you put it side by side with players like Stanton. When you talk about availability, to get in the game on your particular day, somebody brought it out earlier. 40 is the new 30. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're if you want to talk about baseball, you should even touch on contracts like Mike Trout, who's an everyday player. But if you look at his latest trend, he's been on the IL more. Him and players like Pat Mahomes from the Chiefs and NFL, they're playing 16, 17 game seasons before you even talk about the playoffs. So if you want to talk about athletes getting paid extreme amounts of money for minimal amount of participation, starting pitchers, if you take a five-man rotation and then put it into 160, you're looking at maybe when they're a clean bill of health, there's around 30 some odd starts. So they're effectively in not more than 30 or 35 games when they have a clean bill of health. Starting pitchers are an entity that are being subject to injuries, so you have to take that into consideration too.
It's no, there's a million ways that you could break it down. You can look at it,
Yeah.
you can poke holes in, you can show support for it. Jonathan, I thought you went to bed.
Yeah, but Jonathan is right on target with what I was saying about 30 to 35 starts. And Ruben also says that the average annual value is like 27 million.
Yeah.
So is the 27 million? So you're telling me you're getting paid less than $1 million per start if you're making all 35 starts?
No, it's
And that value was per start, by the way.
Yeah, no, it goes to the point where you're seeing. Oh, he's on the West Coast. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot you were on a little trip.
Yeah,
but it goes to where when is it's about getting your money's worth.
yeah.
If I'm getting paid, for argument's sake, a say a stream is like a 9 inning game, it's an hour. And I'm getting paid to do X amount, and I just what, after 40 minutes I'm out.
Yeah.
Or it's Rob McDonald have had enough of my shit, and at the 30-minute mark, all right, we're bringing in a different host.
Yeah.
There has to be a way where it's like, wait a minute, that's not what I'm paying. Somebody's got to be able to step in and be like, look, I'm paying this guy to pitch. Somebody's got to tell the manager, or boom, look, this guy is here to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
He's not here to just get you to the 5th inning. I'm paying this guy a lot of fucking money to throw that baseball.
Yeah.
I want you to get every fucking penny out of him I can get.
Garrett Cole, clean bill of health. He's been making his 30 some odd starts every year, and he's getting paid what, 36 mil?
Yep.
Yeah. So he's getting paid just over $1 million per start, basically, having a clean bill of health.
Yeah, and this is the other side of it also. Retired women brings it up. The Rays have an all-star pitching on the IL. Yeah. Look, pitchers get hurt. I think more pitchers this year are hurt because of the pitch clock. You're asking these guys. Here's another problem. All right, and this is gonna become a spider web on your windshield. So I hope we don't lose. I hope we don't lose anybody with this. I'm going to throw a bunch of things out at the same time.
Go ahead.
We got the other pitch clock, pitch limits, innings limits.
Yeah.
You have, if they're coming back from an injury, there are so many different ways that everything can just fall apart. It's also, you have to look at, all right, Nesbitt Strasburg's a terrible fucking contract. it's
That's unfortunate what happened with him.
yeah. It's one of those, and I'm getting a little tired, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to get through this year.
Yeah.
You have a guy. You have guys that are they'll have 100-mile-an-hour fastball. You're asking
Yep.
them to throw it like that, and
Hmm.
just keep going, keep going, keep going, and you expect them to stay healthy because of the pitch clock. Yeah, and I know that they tried to calculate the pitch clock with enough time more for the pitcher than the batter. But if you look at the increase in injuries
Hmm.
with the arms this year, it's clear as day that there's a fucking problem. There's an
Yeah,
issue.
there is. There is.
They can't. You can't expect to. And if their velocity drops two
Hmm.
miles an hour, ah, you got to shut him down. His arm, his arm is tired. Of course, his arm is tired. He's thrown. And that goes into the argument of why the pitch count can be a positive. You also have the amount of pitches that they're throwing in the bullpen.
Right.
In between innings to stay loose. If
Can
there's
we
a
also?
delay on the field,
Yeah.
sometimes you'll see, if a player gets really hurt, you'll see them,
Mm.
throw a couple to the mid to loosen up again. All that comes into effect. So the pitch
Mm.
count, I think, is something that becomes something that can be necessary to
Mm.
preserving somebody's health.
Hmm.
But there are so many other things that damage it. It doesn't matter if you could your strike to walkout ratio could be 5 strikeouts to 5 batters walked, right? But he thought he could hit triple digits. You'll have another pitcher where his strikeout to walk rate is 10 strikeouts to every 5 walks,
Right.
but throws low 90s. He can hit the corners, finesse pitcher.
Greg Maddux.
That guy will, but in today's baseball, that guy will never see the field
Hmm.
because he doesn't have the velocity. That's another problem with the pitches. They're forced to throw so hard. The shoulder can't recognize. Throwing the ball overhand is a very unnatural motion for your
Hmm.
shoulder. No wonder why everybody gets fucking hurt. No,
Yeah.
growing up, nobody heard of Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
That was a rare thing. Now it's like a badge of honor. Yeah, I throw so hard, I had to have surgery.
Yeah. So this is probably a good argument to make to basically why analytics, rather where analytics should be implemented, because if you have a pitch clock where you're supposed to be, ready to go, what is it, every 20 seconds or so, 30 seconds?
Yep.
So if you're supposed to be ready to go in within a 20 to 30-second time frame, I would say if you're basically, you're getting your coaching staff involved with the analytics, I think you got to let part of this determine how your coaching staff would determine their pitching strategies too on a day-to-day basis. Do they want guys out there constantly throwing 99 to 100 miles an hour? Or do they want to basically mix it up to basically give their pitchers, a little blend of, a little bit of a break? After fastball, go to the curve, go to the slider, go to the sweeper or something. I know, a lot of that at that point, you're going to start talking about mechanics on your arm because you're talking about
Yeah.
all sorts of, spin rates and
Talking about
movement.
also twisting your,
Yeah.
trying to put a certain spin on the ball. I mean, there's a million. That's why being the starting. That's why Those are the one salaries I'll never complain about because what they put their arms through, it's almost completely unfair. What
But
they're
then,
actually,
but then you have to take the argument away about losing velocity on your ball. You have to let your pitchers basically take something off once every, if it's a frequency at maybe every third pitch, every other pitch or every second or third pitch, you have to give them their arms a little bit of a you know a respite period. Yeah, they're still going to pitch, but let them take something off. Don't just be like, oh, we want you to go full gung ho heat. We want you to be Aroldis Chapman in the starting rotation. No, that's not going to work with the pitching clock.
No, it does. Yeah, it's illogical.
Yeah.
It's also reckless.
Let me also
Think
add
of-
one. Let me also add
Yeah.
one more thing that basically baseball has started implementing lately: the World Baseball Classic every about 3 or 4 years. Okay. I think adding that 2 or 3 week, ceremony is probably the best word you want to call that, because it's basically a platform for every country to get their their best 25 or 30 man rosters out on the, on the world stage. I think there's been many debates made about that. Is the timing wrong to have it in spring training? Because you saw what happened to pitchers like Edwin Diaz, and you would think that even with Otani having gone through one Tommy John surgery, if you're looking at the environment around the World Baseball Classic, it hypes you up. You're basically there for the honor of your country. You're going to want to sit there and throw those 100+ mile an hour fastballs. Look at how he struck out, his teammate in MLB to end it, Mike Trout. He basically blew 100+ heater right by him. So you have this, and then for the younger pitchers, this is not something that's new, but I think you still have to govern it. It's the Arizona Fall League for the younger rookies. You have to find a way to somehow govern their involvement a little bit, and ensure that they're basically following more or less either a similar or maybe a little toned down version of their regimen that they're otherwise going through an 162 game haul with.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you go, pitchers also need to. I think they need to take control back of their own craft.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Think about when Verlander was in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
He was that pitcher, and this is what made him such a fascinating pitcher to watch.
Yeah.
He could, in the first 2 innings, he'll hit 100 on the gun, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Then he would scale it back.
Mm-hmm.
And then he could ramp it right back up to 100, depending on the situation of the game, who's at the plate. He wasn't one of the. He wasn't a high velocity pitcher all game.
Mm-hmm.
His fastball would vary depending on how the game was going. If he needed to shut the offense down, he could do it. If he needed to, if he had a nice enough lead where, a runner on wasn't going to kill him,
yeah,
he would just, all right, I'm not going to throw 100, but I'll still get you out with my 95. And
retired. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's where, and the players that did not understand or have the know-how to dial it back a little bit during a game is why we had pitchers like DeGrom that could have been one of the best pitchers of all time. Now is hurt all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know how to scale it back. He can only throw the ball hard. That's another thing. That's the other side of that problem. So there's, again, there's the magic word of the night. Balance. And understanding, but it's also working with the pitching staff. I think they need to do more to explain to these guys. Look, I don't care if you throw 80 pitches or 120 pitches. Just get it, just give us everything you got. and we'll worry about your next start the next time. It doesn't work that way. You can't do that. You have to be able to say, all right, we need you on the mound as much. The bullpen is not. The bullpen is there for when the starter loses it.
Yeah.
It's not something you're supposed to go to automatically because it's the fifth inning or there's 100 pitches.
Right.
There's, like I said, I'm going to throw a lot out at once. But that's do you think that's also part of the problem? Is the way that these pitches are conditioned?
Retired war vet made two solid points, which I want to touch on. He asked one question: have you ever seen the super slow-mo pitcher's arms when throwing certain pitches?
Oh
my God.
That's crazy, right?
He's talking about the knuckleballers, basically. You're talking about your Tim Wakefield, your R.A. Dickey type of pitchers.
No, they're talking about when they do the slow motion when the guy is throwing, and you just see all the movements in the arm. Oh, I know what he's talking about. It's crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, super slow-mo and non-knucklers as well as knucklers. Okay, yeah, so we can expand the context of that to that's fair. The other point he touches on is the MLB players are expected to play quote-unquote playoff baseball after just 2 weeks of spring training during the WBC. Facts on facts on facts. When somebody's just getting ramped up to start a 162 game grind, what kind of logic and common sense tells you they're going to be ready to go and full gung-ho at the speed of 99 100 miles an hour? That is absolutely absurd. And I think we need to call out Rob Manfred for this decision. I believe it was his decision to have it in spring training. Many debates have gone out that I've heard where they're saying that this probably should be either right after the World Series, in countries where the climate is warm, or if there are players that are not participating in the MLB playoffs who are available to go, why not have it at that time when you still have at least some quasi decent weather?
Yeah, that player for the real quick. That player for are you talking about Diaz? He didn't blow his arm out. He got injured celebrating.
Yeah, actually, it was his knee or something. It was his MCL or something.
He was jumping up and down, and something with his leg gave out.
He was doing the Kendrys Morales and the WBC. What kind of? I mean, that you're not. You're not.
Thanks for hanging out, Ruben. We'll talk soon.
Ruben, see you next. Great to have you in the chat, my man.
Yeah, it's.
Go
ahead.
I'm beginning to think, if you're a more of a finesse pitcher where your velocity is not extreme, I'm beginning to think maybe a logic like having those type of pitchers going well over 100 or at least some steep number may be logical. But if you and especially if your conditioning is up to par. But if you're an extreme fastball pitcher and you're not one of the elites like a Garrett Cole or a Verlander type who's got the regimen down that you can go 90 to 100 pitches a game at that velocity, I think that adds a lot of merit to the pitch count.
Have a good night, NFE.
NFE.
I'm sure I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
But look, I think these are discussions that can go on for hours and hours.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're almost up to 2 hours just talking about.
I was just gonna say.
And I think it's time for us to call it a night ourselves, because like I said, we can just go over and over and over, but we don't want to beat a dead horse by keep repeating ourselves. So
right.
We want to thank everybody that's hung out. This is probably one of my longest streams that I've done. So Neil, you trooped it out. I appreciate you, bro. But
Absolutely.
this has been Pinstripes After Dark. And like I says, you know what? Next Monday, no baseball talk. We're gonna talk old TV shows, music, movies.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna
How,
turn the
how,
baseball mind off for tonight
yeah.
and just kind of relax. Just have some normal conversation.
Well,
Um,
we'll even call Aaron Judge a one man night rider because that's basically what he did in that
yeah,
wall
right.
at Dodger Stadium. I mean,
Yeah,
he said, "Who needs a car? I'm just going to run through the wall myself." I mean,
yeah, right. Retired war vet, we always appreciate you. Nah, you're great. We appreciate your service.
hey,
But
yeah,
that's gonna wrap things
exactly.
up
Thank
for
you for your
us. I'm
service.
Uncle Pats. I'm here with SS Dominguez, also known as Sue Neal,
Mhm.
and this has been Pinstripes After Dark. If you haven't already, you know what to do. Hit that like button, share this out. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button. I can't even talk anymore. But
Yeah.
we appreciate you all. As I always say, wear those pinstripes with pride and play hard.
Peace.